Welcome to Montana Voices, episode 14, and a lot to discuss here, so let's just dive right into our business.
Indeed. You're probably already there listening to us right now, but if not, our website is going to be montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like any kind of contact with us, you can reach out to us at the following places. Our email address, as always, will be montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @Montana_voices. Our Facebook account is @Montana Voices Podcast. Our Twitch, I'm not even going to mention because I will let you know when that is ready. And if you want to find our podcast at all, they are always readily available to you on YouTube just by searching Montana Voices Podcast.
And once again, to recap our old issues, we are, again, 100% accurate.
Indeed.
Expect nothing less from this podcast.
No issues. You need people on here to tell you you're wrong in order to know you're wrong, too, I got to say. We haven't had anyone show up yet for that.
We haven't. We've had some interest from Chris, who was on our previous cast, the Roadcast, but so far he proves to be very ghosty. So we'll provide you with more updates in the future. But we have another number of other irons in the oven here. A few topics coming up for future episodes, and this one has taken some time because it's hard for us to be neutral on it. But men's rights. I'm not sure if we can do an episode on that and give it a fair shake because it's ridiculous in my opinion.
I was going to say, but, we got to find someone who's an advocate for it because I'm pretty against it too, to an extent.
I've talked to the men's rights people, and I've talked to some people that are proposing some legislation to change some child support and child custody laws in Montana. So there might be some more on that in the future if I feel that we can. Or if we feel that we can have a episode that's fair and it's not just us bashing somebody who might be special ed. So stay tuned for that. That might come up, and then we're going to go full femdom. We have another guest lined up in the future, so stay tuned for those. So let's dump into our old topics here.
Did you say femdom?
Stuff we did. Yes.
Like
Montana New Wave Feminists.
Oh, that's not usually what I would associate with that term, but all right. Sounds great.
Oh, does that mean something different? Is this the man-eaters thing again?
Yeah. Again.
Oh, well.
Didn't know it was the first time. Anyways, old topics. Sales tax. Over my dead body.
I mean, taxation is theft. I thought we've already been through this.
John Tester and Mr. I believe it was Steve Bullock made it very, very clear in the Taco John's parking lot. Link down below. Yeah, no, they're extorting you. They can leave all that sales tax to the tourist and those outside of the state. Montana has no place for that for residents.
Well, if we can leave it to the tourists, I'm not even sure. No, I kind of like that. But yeah, if we can only tax tourists, but then I have to present a Montana ID every time I want to buy something.
Yeah, no, because then you get into the whole ID thing, and that is also touchy waters these days. So I could see that as well. So I don't know. Oh, because that's a lot of grounds for discrimination. Because then if you have anybody who comes in with a New York accent or anything from the New Jersey area, and you try to card them, and then they're gonna shout discrimination. I've lived here for 20 years, and then why haven't you dropped the accent? And
whatever, Mr. Rosendale.
Oh yeah, he's kind of got one too, doesn't he? He's from Maryland though. That's kind of a strange accent because every time I hear him talk, it sounds like he's from the South, but like Maryland's not like totally in
the South at all.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So like I don't know. Not to say like it's weird or anything, but it's fascinating to hear it. Just the different dialects from the different parts of the country. It makes me wonder, though, how we sound to others outside of Montana, if they think we sound weird.
Pretty hick-like, I assume.
What?
I imagine we sound pretty hick-like. We are sort of in the sticks here. These rural boys coming up here.
To an extent, Jim, but like when you compare us to a lot of other areas, like, our farming population is fairly articulated, I'd like to think.
They are, and we can thank rural broadband for that. So one of our other subjects we discussed was that in the It was excellent.
I see. Are we just trying to bring up old ones here all together?
Did you die there, Bryce?
Anyways, what else we got, Jim?
Well, we discussed coding schools, education. We spent a little time on the trucking protests, which took us to oil and how Montana is subsidizing the North Dakota oil market, and TV shows coming to Bozeman. So, exciting times in our last episode. That was 13, but on to our new news.
Indeed. Starting us off here, it looks like Mr. Corey Stapleton is making a run for governor.
Which is interesting. But he has lost his party's primary before, so even if he manages to get through the primary, he still might lose the general election, which he's also done before. He lost to, of course, Szynski, and also before that he lost to Hill. So it's not a surefire thing, and it's sort of an odd thing since his seat there is his current spot is has some controversy in it, especially with ballots, last minute deals, and how the print shop that gets chosen to print all of our ballots and ballot materials happens to be a political friend. It's one of those backroom deals that everyone likes to talk about.
Indeed. Some shady stuff going on there, but I don't know. We'll see who the competitor is. Do we know if Bullock's going to run again?
Can he run again? Is this a second term?
I don't know.
I can't
Do they
recall.
have term limits? They should have term limits. Everyone should have term limits.
Absolutely, but once you get him in, they're not going to vote for that.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Listen, people, I'm the best leadership you're going to get. Do you really want to muddle that up with limiting my abilities?
I mean, we had Max Baucus for 30-some years.
I was looking into that the other day. It was insane. All of our more recent senators are kind of noobs on this. It was pretty close there for Tester, all things considered. So it'll be interesting if he can keep it up for another, 3 terms. He only said he was going to run for 2 to begin with, but
that's true.
Everyone says that,
Exactly, and term limits, I think he did discuss that. It wasn't a major campaign point, but he has suggested that in the past. Obviously not when he was running for his 3rd term. So promise is broken.
Baby,
Tester.
I'm a changed man.
Exactly. Well, it's sort of a thing. I mean, you're in it for 2 terms, and the 3rd term's coming up, and they want to give it to this guy from Maryland. I mean, what do you do?
Do you break your what's more moral? Breaking a promise that you made like literally 12 years ago, or handing over the state to someone you potentially see unfit to run it? And he took what he considered to be the more noble route, apparently, on that, and ran for that term, saving the state clearly, but
clearly. And I don't think a new freshman would have done well in that position. I mean, we saw the other race with Gianforte and Williams, where Williams is somewhat unknown in that field, and those results were not even close.
Oh, yeah. Well, even more so if you look before that, it's Steve Daines versus Curtis, where they pulled her out of thin air 2 weeks beforehand.
No, they pulled her out of a school in Butte.
Just here, you run, and then
they out of people. I mean,
it just felt very lackluster, the whole thing, compared. And I don't know why, but you now that the race is over, we see the amount of money that was pushed into the Senate race there for Tester. If you compare that to how much was put into the Curtis race, maybe the power bill cost that much.
Well, they didn't have anything for Curtis, and Curtis is still does things over in that Butte region. She's a representative over there. I believe she's still elected. I might have to look into that, but she was beforehand, so not completely unknown. But the Democrats just after, it wasn't Rick Hill, but it was the guy who was running the daycare. He had some weird things going on and had to bow out sort of at the last second. I can't remember his name, but then they had to produce somebody, so they found somebody who could check all the Democratic boxes. We got a woman. She's from Butte. She's progressive.
Mining.
Supposedly. Yeah, mining. And even she couldn't pull that off. But then again, she didn't really have any positions. In my opinion,
if you don't give them any kind of media attention, that's, I don't know. I feel like that was the whole thing. Is I just saw a whole lot of hype behind Daines for a significantly longer time, and then I can't remember one commercial for her. Maybe it's just because I have a bad memory, but
The only commercial I remember her is where she had the other guy, and it was black, ominous music, and then it shows, it literally pans to her, and she's in a field with marigolds and something. She's like, he just doesn't get it, and that's like all she would say about it. Like she, had some bullet points that she went through, but she just didn't have the time to develop a campaign. Is what it came down to.
well, I mean, it sounds like she was kind of handed a campaign at the last second. So I don't know. Well, perhaps they'll do better next time. And I gotta commend us, Jim. There, we were that little segment right there. We were very impartial. I'll say we took some jabs at the left. I want to make note of that for our conservative listeners who feel that we are an echo chamber.
Yep. But yet none of them are willing to chat with us on the record. So they can say what they will and comment what they will. But if you don't, when it comes down to brass tacks, if you're not action and just a Facebook keyboard warrior, I mean,
say what you will about
seriously
Super
do we take
Grover
it?
2.0, but at the end of the day, he shows up.
That he does. He does, and we'll segue into other, not so elected officials, and actually no longer official. Zinke is still in the news because apparently the Inspector General is not letting this go.
Yeah, no, hoping that one would get lost in the special filing cabinet there, code name waste paper basket. However, it looks like this one's landed straight upon the desk right underneath the nose.
Yeah, I wonder if Mueller's in on this. What's the thing that
Jesus, I hope not for his sake, because Mueller there, I like to call him Sam Eagle.
He has a pretty good track record. He's almost doing as well as the Postmaster Inspector General, who I don't know if you didn't know, but if you do any postal crimes, they have like a 95 or higher success rate on prosecution. So if you're getting prosecuted by the post office, which, by the way, has their own police.
Are you serious?
It blew my mind. Yeah, they have their own police.
That's pretty mind-blowing. I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah, I learned this from educational TV. There's a show that they call educational. It's supposed to be like CIS, or NCIS, but for the post office. So, and then I started researching a little bit. I was like, they have a police force, and if the post office has got you, they got you. There's no getting out of that. As bad as the IRS.
Well, that's they usually are the ones to bring down criminal organizations, so I wouldn't be surprised if the post office is right there. The unseen dagger is the one to take out the general, something like that.
So if you mail a fraudulent tax return, is that a double crime? Can the post office also get you for mail fraud? Or
I don't know. I guess depending on how far they want to throw that book. I'm sure they could hit a couple heads on the way.
Well, new year, new us, because we have a new legislature, which is in Montana. Quite a few Republicans, mostly Republicans, and the infighting is they're bringing it back. Montana doesn't have a Newt Gingrich to bring everybody together like the Republicans did in the 90s when facing the quote blue wave, but it looks like they were infighting about rules. And they're bringing back the term rhinos to try to figure out who's the real Republicans.
Are they really using the term rhino?
But
that's funny. That's
yep.
Tammy Lauren uses that one.
Oh, geez.
Like all
throwback
the time. That's like her favorite word on Twitter is rhinos whenever she's bashing Republicans.
Well, I'm happy that she's bashing the right as well as the left. I feel as long as she's trying to hit both and staying true to herself.
She's definitely playing both sides of the field there, no doubt.
In case this Fox thing doesn't work out, maybe she can do the Megyn Kelly switch over to NBC.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal, I'd think, overall. Are they paying... I don't know. Not necessarily that NBC would pay higher at all times, but, I mean, in any regard of the news industry, you're always striving for that prime time slot on TV. And what did they have her on Fox? She was on, at a not ideal time, correct?
Well, I think Megyn Kelly was on Fox and Friends.
I swear to God, she had her own show on there. I don't know. It should be really nice when one of our conservative friends could come on here and tell us about this. But
yeah, I'm up to date on my Tommy or Tam, whatever you call it.
Tommy has no Well, I don't know. She's got like her own personal show now on Fox, I think, or segment or something. They have her on Fox and Friends a lot in the morning as well. I know that. But Megyn Kelly had her own show there for a bit on Fox, and then she left to go do the NBC thing, and everyone kind of knew that was probably a much bigger paycheck involved with that. Usually is with moves like that.
Yeah, you're going to a main network from cable, so I think that's a big move, and maybe a move that's in our future, Bryce.
Let's hope. Mr. Soros, honored. Thank you for your recognition. We look forward to further speaking with you for the first time ever.
Or we can get into that Coke money as well.
With us in spirit, no doubt. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, supporting us, pulling the strings from the background. And that story on the sort of upheaval and interfighting of the Republicans I pulled from Montana Free Press, which I did say we were going to stop promoting because they're coming up with their own podcast, and they're getting into our domain. We don't get into their yard.
Basically because their yard's a dying
they're coming
yard?
after our milkshakes here. Well, they're online news, so it's...
Oh, online.
Yeah, it's kind of a dying yard.
Online's kind of the only... That's more of a relic yard, I guess. A graveyard of once paperized news sources. You know, it's funny.
What?
Quick tangent here, I guess, but anytime you go to a lot of these local newspaper sites anymore, or on their Facebook pages, I notice a trend where there's a lot of people that bitch about that paywall.
Well, that includes us. Because, if we had to pay a subscription for every newspaper that we want to cite in Montana Voices podcast, we would blow up our non-existent budget. So that would be a huge problem.
The bankers would not be very pleased.
But luckily, there's very simple ways to get around that. So I'll not tell you how. But yeah, as far as the infighting that they had going, and maybe we should not fight with the Montana Free Press, because we will try not to be like Montana Republicans, where we're fighting about how much we plan to do with Democrats, which is what their sort of internal struggle was, ironically. But speaking of rhinos, Bozeman Senate President, the Bozeman Republican, he is the Republican President Senate, and he wants us to send $8 million to support the border wall. That is $8 million of our money.
That I thought Mexico was going to pay for it. What happened to that plan?
Yeah.
I was told Mexico would be footing the bill.
That was just hyperbole. I mean, it's they're going to pay for it in trade, Bryce. I'm trying to be argumentative here. So,
what about the GoFundMe? I don't think they. I was told the GoFundMe was coming along greatly, and
can the government even accept a GoFundMe?
Well, that's
payment?
what I was wondering too. Is that I read through it briefly, and I didn't see a plan of action as to what the money directly would go for, as far as a bidding process. If this was just going to be money handed over, or if they would put this out for their own RFP, because this is a whole different set of funding. So with anything else with the government, I don't think you can just grab cash and go like that. I think you still need to put it through the whole set of chain and rigmarole again, because it's a whole new set of fund. So,
well, I know that you can overpay taxes. You can pay it as a tax income. So, by the way, you could do that if you so chose, Bryce. Send the IRS more money because you felt that you should. But that goes to the general fund, and of course, you don't need to. You do have no authority over how that money gets spent.
And that brings up another point of the people giving to this fund. Do they think? Are they under the impression at all that they'll be asked for their opinion and insights on wall building? Because is anyone giving to that fund thinking that they're going to get the full concrete horse and carriage, and here we come to find out that we're going to do steel slats? Jim, you can hand methamphetamine bags through steel slats.
Or throw it over it. Or
if you got a really good arm there, I have a feeling some of those fellas are probably in fairly good shape and probably can throw fairly far. And
or around, under. go in the ocean, take a boat,
I just
take an airplane. Lots of
if
options here.
this doesn't go through. I mean, if it does go through the wall building, that is like, what?
But I do find it ironic that the people that some of the same people that are donating to this wall, the GoFundMe specifically, are the same ones that are quick to, as well, as long as there's a homeless vet in America, we have no space for anybody else, essentially. And here they are with apparently completely disposable income, what they can just give to this specific cause, instead of handling the thing they say is the problem.
I would like to. I wonder how many of them hit that donate button on the GoFundMe while like sitting in Tent City.
Well, I would suggest none. So, Tent City, for those that don't know, is an actual. I think might even have its own zip code here in Missoula. It's behind the Walmart that always smells, and now you know why. At night, it has an odor. Because it is right in front of Tent City, which is a little outlet on the river, which should be its own little subdivision for homeless. Well, we'll avoid the wall. That's a whole lot to the south.
It's a good idea.
I've said it on a previous episode.
Yeah, no, they're
We've said it on a previous episode. The wall should be built up north for sure.
Just like in Game of Thrones, like everyone knows the real threats, the living undead frozen over.
Well, that is. I'm not caught up on my Game of Thrones, but I understand that's why they have a wall.
Oh God,
you're really making the case for the wall here, Bryce.
I didn't want to spoil it for you. Should I put in a spoiler at the bottom of this episode, Jim, just in case, so everyone knows that I start.
I don't think that's a spoiler because I think we saw living undead, the Ice Walkers or whatever in season 1. So
What if they haven't seen season 1.
They're 10 years behind. What can you do? You shouldn't have to do a spoiler for what can now be considered a classic.
I feel they should still give it a watch. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, check it out. Has nothing to do with Montana. We're going to stop talking about it now.
Yeah, nothing to do with Montana. Other things. The wall has little to do with Montana, although the state, which had budget shortfalls the last couple of years and took an axe and reduced 10% of our budget and a lot of services that people rely on, apparently, according to the Montana Senate president, has $8 million that we can send to the border wall, and that's Montana Senator Scott Sales from Bozeman.
Bozeman.
Of course. The same place that produced a senator that suggested that we should have a sales
tax. More White Claw consumed per capita than any place else in the world.
I believe it. So even if they get this through, if the Republicans hold a vote and approve it, of course all the Democrats are opposed, and Steve Bullock doesn't have veto power, but he would need to approve it. I guess our Constitution is set up a bit different from the national thing is there, where the governor cannot veto a bill, but he could not sign it. It's effectively a bench veto.
That's strange. I thought that they had veto power.
According to KTVQ.com, they do not.
I was going to say, because I remember that Schweitzer a few years back had a huge, I guess you could call it a ceremony, but he had a brand that said veto on it, and he went through vetoing a bunch of shit by branding it with the veto brand.
I remember that.
I believe the blocking for medical marijuana was on that, but there were a couple ones. He was really, he was bringing out the Montana that day, and maybe not in what he was vetoing, but in the process that he chose to do the vetoing by. Very Montana-like.
Well, we'll stick to Montana, and we're going to avoid AOC in this thing, because that's not a thing in Montana, by the way. The Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, yeah, don't want to talk about her. She's a socialist, Jim.
I heard. I also heard
she communist,
dances.
Jim.
So, is that a communist dance? Is that a dance
of
the
people? I was, I didn't hear. Maybe there's leaked footage of her out there somewhere dancing to the Soviet national anthem. I say if there is, geez, game over,
Well, the dance thing is ridiculous, and apparently it was not a thing.
Release the tapes.
Release. It's always a tape. The left had a field day accusing Republicans of doing this, and as far as I know, other than some tweet from some Republican in a state I've hardly heard of, and definitely somebody I don't know, like nobody cared at all. That
yeah,
this
I
came
checked.
out.
I don't even think that Tommy hit out on that. I know for sure that like Tucker Carlson, I checked because I had a feeling Tucker would jump in on that, and he didn't say anything about it. So,
Well, what is there to say? I mean, it's a reaction of a non-reaction. They probably released the tape themselves, and they're like, "Ha! Look at these Republicans."
I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway, classic communist move. Everyone knows that.
It's not they win; it's we all win. Get back to work, comrade.
Well, back to mine.
Anyways, yeah, let's zero back in. Wolf Point. There's a good place to start. If you've not been, check it out. Stop in Wolf Point. Great McDonald's there.
I mean, do we have to? I mean,
why wouldn't it?
I can't remember the last time I've been to Wolf Point.
It's been a while for me as well, but I'm trying to think what else they even have.
On the way to Poplar.
Yeah. No, I believe Poplar is on the way to Wolf Point, isn't it? Or is it further?
Well, it always depends on where you're coming
Indeed,
from.
yeah.
So,
You know what, yeah,
different parts of the
all contingent on which direction you are traveling.
But we have found the school district is in hot water over there, and something else interesting I found and it seems weird to consider this, but the well-off people, especially natives, choose to bus their kids to Poplar schools where they don't face the same issues as we have over here in Wolf Point.
If I was a parent, I would be pretty pissed about that. If you have to bus your kid a town over to go to school because the school in your town is too racist, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, too racist. And the superintendent and principal over there, because before it was a lawsuit, now it actually is a discrimination lawsuit suggesting or stating that the administration is favoring white students over Native Americans, and it points out pretty clearly what those specific issues are. However, when presented with this before it was actually in the courts and there was anything going on with it, the superintendent was like, well, I've read this 3 times and it doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to go into these native issues, basically. Which is
that school on the reservation? Like, isn't Wolf Point a part of it?
No, Poplar is, though, I believe, right?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but it's close enough, though. Like, I'm sorry, dude, you're in native country. Like, shut up.
The school's 50% brown.
Shut up,
so.
dude. Like, this is literally your profession, is, like, handling native kids. Like, you should be able to treat them with the same respect, and you should be able to treat the white kids with the same scrutiny that they deserve, because they're just as much little shits as like any other kid, like just because they're white doesn't mean they're better. They're still prone to being little assholes just like anybody else. So
and kids do that.
Yeah.
It's a good
kids
age.
Are just like,
but
in any capacity really in school, like kids are cruel as shit, man. And so like for him to just like pass this off from like for any educator to that, it's like really fucking mortifying,
Yep, and some of the issues that they're going on here is a lack of inclusion of Native American teachers is one of them that they suggest, which is probably the most mundane in the accusations here, but it goes as far to say that any brown or Native kid that gets in any trouble at the school, regardless of their intellect and their actual capacity, is then put into a special ed program which only has like 1 or 2 teachers. It's severely underfunded. It's not even taking care of the kids that actually are special ed, let alone the kids that might have gotten into some trouble.
Yeah, so there's, I don't know, that whole program needs to be re-looked at and readdressed. And I don't know, this guy clearly shouldn't be running that fucking school if he's... God, I can't believe that. This guy shouldn't be an educator.
Shouldn't be. I'm surprised he didn't apply for the Great Falls position. A bit fewer natives to deal with.
Indeed,
in
I
Great
feel
Falls,
like jeez. GFPS, we got the perfect fella for you. Throw out them 3 other names. That guy with the doctorate from Wisconsin. We don't need him.
He's probably going to get it. To clue everybody in, Great Falls is the GFPS, Great Falls Public Schools, is down to 4 candidates for the open superintendent position at $150,000. Was it 3 now? Did we lose one
I believe
since I last?
The assistant superintendent, One, I believe, a principal from one of the schools, and then that guy from Wisconsin. The guy from Wisconsin's got the doctorate. I'm not sure what the other guy two had, but it seemed like they all had a lot of like, schooling stuff. So like, I'm sure they're all pretty good educators. So we'll see how they do. It seems like whoever gets this position is going to do a shitty job. I can tell you right now. They're going to suck. They're going to fail at it because that's just the whole mentality of this entire town, it seems, when it comes to shit with the school district of, well, they can't get their funds in order. Blame it all on the Hill and the assholes making all the money. And this person's going up. He does not have the high ground in this, no matter what. And I wish him all the best.
Well, high ground or not, 150 grand is, downright decent for Great Falls.
It is.
So I think he can handle a little scrutiny to earn that.
Indeed. And you know what? With that said, Jim, I'm not in that six-figure club myself. I'd sure like to be, but not possible in the slightest. So, motherfucker, you better do a good job. Whoever you are. So. If there is mismanagement, like I'll be right there yelling as well. But I feel like we should give them at least a good week, if not a month, to try it out.
Yeah, maybe before we start here. Well, back to the civil rights complaint here, and I think I outlined some of the smaller issues. But some of the main ones is I don't know if you knew, but there is an epidemic of Native youth suicide that's going on, as far as I know, everywhere in Montana right now. If you drive anywhere through the reservation, they're doing what they can with billboards telling you you're important and such. But it's an epidemic with nearly a fifth of Native high school students in Montana have reported at least a suicide attempt within the last year.
That's pretty disturbing, and more so, cannot say it enough. Like, we need to address these kind of issues for these areas and send some more help and more assistance. I feel like they're just not enough being done out there,
Or before this anything, and in extreme cases, students have been disciplined by the principal at Wolf Point School and have left and committed suicide. Not suicide later that day, like abandoned school and killed themselves immediately. So that is there's at least 2 recorded incidents of that, and there's maybe something. I mean, when the principal berates you for poor attendance and says you're kicked off the basketball team, and of course the exact wording and details of what was said are not available because one person is now dead.
Well,
so
anything with minors like that's always going to be wrapped up, and you're not going to hear a lot about. But when it gets to be a level of, at it is now where it's a discrimination case, like some of the details are going to come out, and it's not going to... The details that they're allowed to leak out never look good. So, I don't think that this guy should be an educator.
Well, we need some new blood in there. And we'll, finish it up that they also have a history of when they do get Native teachers there, of which, I'm not sure how well their Natives are represented in the teaching profession. I couldn't say, but when they have some, they are, for one reason or another, let go or are no longer at the school because of differences, and including one that I read in the article, which... we'll have all of our articles linked in the YouTube and our thing here. One of her dismissal things was that she lacked respect for administration, which is apparently something they can fire you over. I thought teachers had that ironclad with the unions and such, but apparently not when it comes to the BIA.
Yeah, no, that's didn't respect. Why wouldn't they respect the administration who had 2 kids commit suicide directly after interacting with them? I can't imagine what in the world would make her not want to respect those people. But, I suppose it's any profession you're in, but I still feel that, yeah. I mean, because with something like that, when you have like a 50% Native school, you should have as many native teachers as you can like that, because you're going to need the outreach in order to relate to those kids and what their lifestyles were like to an extent, wouldn't you think? I have no insight on this because I'm a white guy, of course, but I feel like a native teacher would probably be very beneficial to a lot of these kids as like a role model of sorts,
Or at least, equally represented as the students are. Maybe 50% is attainable there. But we're talking about single teachers that have been let go, and now there's, I guess, not a native teacher in Wolf Point.
That's
which is startling.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be busting my kid to Poplar too. I wouldn't want to deal with that bullshit.
Poplar. We're joking on Poplar. We're not ignorant, as they call it. So we're going to stay on the reservation, but a different reservation, going to Fort Peck up to the Northern Cheyenne, where native disappearances are getting some limelight right now, which is a good thing, because that's also an epidemic as well. And start off with the Gazette getting things right, which is not something you can always say about print news. You only hear the bad news on them, so
south,
I suppose I should...
North Cheyenne's tribe is south of the Wolf Point area.
Oh, I said we were going up, didn't I?
I'm sorry. So, I'm keeping us... I want to make sure we can obtain that 100% accuracy next episode as well.
Yeah, we got to keep... Thanks for holding me to the fire there. It says Northern in their name, so you can see how
Southern must be in Wyoming, I believe.
Well, yeah, pretty close.
Isn't that a town there, Cheyenne?
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Northern of anything's always much fucking cooler, so Wyoming, you suck.
That we agree on. Having driven through Wyoming a number of times, you just want to get it done as quick as possible. But Gazette getting things right. They had an article on the disappearance of... let me pull up her name here. Unfortunately, she has been found dead. And it tied that article into a series of articles that they wrote on the same subject, or maybe I shouldn't call out the Gazette, but the author of Mike Cordenbrock at the Gazette. So it's Henny Scott, who was recently found dead on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, which is unfortunate. This was late last year. But some startling revelations did come out of that. This was reported to the BIA and then the police, and nothing happened. And apparently they were only able to find her after the tribe organized a volunteer search party, and that was the BIA did not investigate for 2 weeks.
Wow, that's
of doing nothing.
This is probably going to bring some attention, just given how much people have been talking about native disappearances over the last year. And then this one, how old did you say this girl was? She wasn't even older than 16, right? Like,
no, I think 14 or 15.
Yeah, no,
Henny,
that's a fucking kid is found dead on the reservation. Like, that's got to be brought up on that. That's some stuff that needs to be brought up to like the United States Senate and stuff at that point, because I don't think that Montana is the only place that is happening, is it? There's got to be other reservations that are having that same kind of issue.
Well, I try to ignore any news from Montana as much as I can, so I would imagine so that you're correct. So it was Henny Scott from Lame Deer, and yes, 14, which is... Oh, geez. Well, we'll try this, and we'll end the show on a positive note. That's all unpleasant, so our condolences. We certainly don't want to use anybody's death as something to propagate some sort of political agenda, but in this case, I think absolutely this should be done, and that name should be in everybody's head.
No one should forget about this kind of thing anytime soon, and if you're ever in the reservation area, you should be really mindful of this kind of stuff going on and keep an eye out for anything.
And trafficking, suicides, it's just
that goes for everywhere in the state, for that matter. I know, I'm trying to think of what the company was. There was some organization that was coming through doing a special seminar on how to watch out for trafficking throughout the state. They stopped at a couple of the bigger towns to give it.
Yep, they were in Great Falls. My wife went to that one, and they made a party and went there, and it was informative. And also, hopefully, a new thing's coming from Great Falls because Cascade County's new sheriff was on the not the he was on the task force for this sort of thing for disappearances and trafficking.
He was on the internet sex crimes against children task force, or whatever.
Very closely related. So
he's definitely good at hunting them down in that regard, I think. So,
well, I hope so, and I hope those skills get put to good use with the sheriff's
Indeed.
office over there. So, yeah, but as far as legislation coming through, and we picked this up also from the Billings Gazette, 'cause like I said, they have a whole series on it, and they actually did this one right. And other than answering some dumb questions which you don't even have to answer, I don't know why they do that. It's not a paywall, but you've seen the ones where you have to answer some questions like a survey.
Trying to get your information. Your opinion's
try all
more
you
valuable
want,
than
it's-
anything else you could give us.
Yeah, metadata. That's all where it's at. But they had a whole series where you can click through the articles one by one, and it was very nicely laid out, which is enough to say. Outgoing Democratic Senator Heidi Heldkamp from North Dakota. I'm sorry, Bryce, were you trying to segue into North Dakota earlier, and I completely missed it? Because that would have been brilliant if I had picked up on it.
Which point?
Where you talked about outside states having these same issues.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. North Dakota's had huge issues with it. I mean, that's essentially like that. I mean, that to tie it directly into Montana, there back in that Sydney area when Sherry Arnold went missing, they ended up finding they took her into the North Dakota area, I believe, and that's where they found her body. But
And
it's fucked up stuff, man.
absolutely. So, which is why Heidi Heldkamp, I think I'm saying that right, from North Dakota, is no longer in office. Got voted out this last time. Introduced some legislation from Alaska that is meant to crack down and especially native disappearances. However, it is most likely not going to get out of the legislature in North Dakota because certain organizations are opposed to it. Interestingly, the National Fraternal Order of Police, who for some reason are still fraternal, even though we can have women
are they
cops
against
now.
that?
So, because it does not explicitly give resources to other agencies such as police departments not on reservations.
Oh, I see. So they don't want money going directly to BIA.
Yeah, essentially, which is why they're opposed to it. So, which is unpleasant. It
It still looks really fucking bad. But whatever. Okay.
Does the Fraternal Order of Police not include reservation
Are
cops?
they not allowed in?
Well, or maybe they're women. Who knows? Can't have that fraternal.
Well, hey, maybe they can give us some insight on that men's rights stuff.
Yeah, maybe, and hopefully something comes out of both Tester and Daines being on committees for Indian affairs. So maybe some good will come of that. I sure hope so. Tester is doing that looking over the glasses thing while he questions BIA people. So we've got that going on.
When he
does that.
puts them glasses on halfway, you're about to get grilled.
And he grilled the BIA guy pretty hard. So hopefully something comes of that other than just a grilling and a snippet for his next ad campaign for his fourth term, or maybe he moves to the governor or something else. But let's end this on the positive note. And the last thing I have on the look is Billings is trying to crack down on massage parlors. That is our. And I just looked at the Billings beat. Doesn't have anything new humorous.
Hookers get
I was
out.
hoping to toss it in there.
That's what an illicit massage parlor is, right? I didn't know that there was such. I didn't know that they had a huge number of those in Billings to begin with. I thought that was like something you'd get in Reno.
Well, they're legal in Reno. According to that's Republican Rep Daniel Zolnikov, who that's a Russian name if I ever heard one, that there are 15 massage parlors in Billings alone, which is So I lived in Billings, and I am not familiar with any of these places.
Yeah, like, so there's 15 whorehouses in Billings that are still in operation. Like, I hate to call it that, but like I'm like that. Let's be honest here. It's a sex house, right? Like massage parlor.
Yes, that
where
is
they massage your genitals. Like it.
That is the rumor.
I mean, if it's
that I've
illicit,
heard.
are they like not operating with massage therapy license? Because like that could. I mean, I don't want to make
They are not.
assumptions here. If illicit just means like unlicensed places, like, you know, they're selling alcohol without a liquor license here. We're giving massages without proper training, you know. But yeah, no, usually this ties into like, yeah, they're touching genitals too. So probably a good thing to close down. I have a feeling that probably ties into trafficking, so it's a good thing that they closed it. This is really still not that positive, Jimmy. Like, I think we can find something a little more positive.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you're right. This, was, almost a joke that they're shutting down massage parlors, but now, yeah, no, it's not. Especially considering the gravity of the content, and I was gonna debate on, whether that is an effective way to actually reduce trafficking. Zolkanov, or Zolnikov, or sorry, I will not butcher his name, says that he is, and he says they're a breeding ground for human trafficking, and how they're oftentimes women are brought in from other countries to work in these places, which is a form of human trafficking, of course. Yeah, well, I don't know who would oppose that. We'll have to see if that passes.
Opposes it, we got to make sure that we keep an eye on that and make note of it and be sure to talk about it, because I'm going to want to remember who said, no, we have to let these unlicensed massage parlors where they might potentially touch my dick and, be employing people from out of the country who may not have come here on clear circumstances. You should shut that down.
A note here: it does not affect legitimate spas that are licensed with massage therapists and such. So they are not affected. Just I'm also surprised there's 15, because Billings is roughly the same size as, or a bit bigger than Great Falls, and roughly the same size as Missoula. Does that mean there's 15 parlors in our town that me and you were completely unaware of?
Like, the only thing I can think of that's like 15 of anything in a town is like the gas stations, and
casinos. Lucky Lil's, Town Pump.
There you go. I was going to say, is there are any of these operating like the Conoco? And I'm trying to think of like another, like a Sinclair and a Conoco, where like, yeah, they both have gas, but they're going to be right next door to each other. How many of these horror houses are operating directly next to each other?
Or is there really 15? I mean, I couldn't identify. I can't identify any in Missoula.
Illicit, and I'm like, isn't the practice illegal already? And shut it down if you know there's 50. If you know there's 15, you know where they're at to shut them down.
Wait a minute, how's this guy know where they're at?
Yeah,
that's another question.
Jeez,
well, he's trying to legislate his own vice out of existence.
This is how I quit.
Well, that's. I only know of one questionable place in Great Falls, and I think I would be very familiar with it. I delivered food during college for way too long, and you end up in a lot of places and knowing a lot of things that the normal people don't get access to. So I know of only one place in Great Falls.
Which was that?
Okay. Are we going to get sued? I can't even remember the name. It's by the gas station, which survives on condom sales alone. Doesn't even sell gas, or they just started selling gas right by 2J's.
Oh, yeah, no, I know the place. Okay. Hey.
Touch of Clap, I believe it's called.
You're gonna get this, yeah. Cease and desist.
No. I've heard from sources.
There used to be a rental video store attached to the front of that place back in the day of rental video stores, and
I used to know the people that owned that. The doctors, good folks. It's still a video rental store somehow.
I don't know how. That's mind blowing that they can keep it together in the age of Netflix. But good on them. Also another popular, well, not popular, I guess, but another good note to end on. my mom called me like right as I was getting off of work and told me that one of my childhood friends was in town. He's making a move from up north of here down south of here, so he stopped in for the night to rest and all that. So I met him up at the Black Bear Diner and got a catch up. But in doing so, I got to go to the Black Bear Diner, and I tried that out. It's been big old hype machine, hype beast behind that, and I got to say, it was all right.
Just all right.
I guess I went in kind of hoping for the Perkins-like experience, It seemed a little bit closer to Denny's, I guess.
Oh, man,
I gotta say,
that's
the
unfortunate.
decor and the environment was very cool. They have, how when you go into, the Hallmark stores, there'll be little black bears, like the trinkets that are carved wood, and it's like a little black bear hanging out doing stuff. They'll have one of him, taking a shit, and you can put it, next to your toilet, or there'll be one of him, in a bath, and you can put that next to your sink. You know the bears I'm talking about, right? They got those fucking
I think
everywhere.
so.
This place must have a trademark on them or some shit, because it's just weird little carved black bears everywhere. The food, though, was pretty all right. It was pretty good.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, you have to start with a incredible thing, so
maybe
that's...
I just got the turkey meal too, so I didn't go all out. Looking at the menu, I was hoping for a couple more options for the dinner area, but I'm gonna try it again because it was a nice big open area. It was loud. I could take all of my kids there, and I didn't give a fuck if they were loud because it's just adding to the white noise of the whole place, So it's pretty good. So if you're in a
excellent.
Great
Well,
Falls,
I'll have to maybe check it out next time I'm in that area.
Former Moonshine Bar and Grill there, attached to the backside of Chili's and Marketplace in Great Falls. So,
well, I hear it's no smoked, which is...
I don't think they are in the same category to begin with. So whoever told you that is... Who I don't know why you would try to even compare those two, because it's
It cannot be compared. I mean, they both serve food.
But, are you going to compare smoke to Roadhouse? No, you would compare Roadhouse to, the Burger Bunker if you're looking for local eateries of the same variety, Shout out to the Burger Dive there, right? Of course.
Burger Dive. Yes, the Burger Dive in Billings. Best burgers you can get, hand down. I'm sorry, Roadhouse. I like you, but it's really close, though.
I'm not
really
in Billings
close.
enough, so I'm Roadhouse through and through, till death. I keep it pretty simple when I go.
Get yourself the Bundy, Stu Reich. Well, that concludes episode 14 of Montana Voices podcast, and we'll run through the business here and then get this in the wraps.
Get back up to my business area here. You're probably already either on this website already or you found us on it, but if not, our website is going to be montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like to drop us a line or reach out to us about being on the show, potentially if you're one of our conservative friends or listeners, or if you want to come argue with us, anything of the sort, you can drop us a line at our email address here, montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter account is at Montana_voices. Our Facebook account is at Montana Voices Podcast. Our Twitch will be coming soon, very soon, but, let's just forget that exists for the time being. YouTube, you can always find us there by searching for Montana Voices Podcast. And also, on another note, I'd like to point out that we did not touch on, maybe because we didn't have enough time to get really heated on it, but I feel that we could give our listeners a bit of a preview here for next episode. I feel that we should finally touch in on raw water.
Oh, we're going to raw water. We should put that in this episode. It's all the rage. It's most untouched by man. We will save it for the next episode.
Looking very forward to it. We have lots of plans. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.